Yo, what is up fam, and welcome to today's video. So in this video we're going to be talking about bulking, when you should bulk, what is bulking, and pretty much like bulking 101 kind of thing. I'm just going to show you guys a video that we created for Rezillion Apparel. So I just launched the face mask that went live Saturday at 10 a.m. and we're going to be giving away $5 from every single mask to mental health awareness resources. So it's actually going to the Canadian Mental Health Association. $5 from every single mask is going to be going there. So I'm going to play the video now. I hope you guys enjoy it, and then we'll get into the bulking 101. Let's go.
You may have anxiety, but you are not your anxiety. You don't have to shame yourself or demean yourself for anything. Anxiety is a part of life, but it is not bigger than life. Being the best version of yourself is in your control. Create your vision.
Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you guys do want to support, I'll leave the link to my website, Rezillion Apparel's website, in the description. You guys can head over there and check everything out, and the masks will be there as well too. So yeah, thank you guys if you guys do decide to support. Anyways, let's get into this. Bulking 101. So right off the bat, what is bulking? Simply a surplus above your maintenance to put on mass, but the mass that we want is going to be muscle mass and not fat mass. So you're gonna do a period of time in a surplus and try to build up your muscle mass increase in weight. So everyone is gonna have their own maintenance depending on your body size, your age, bunch of different things, whether you're a female, male, but you can go on Google and literally just look up like a calorie calculator or a TDEE, which is a total daily energy expenditure. I actually recommend putting your stats into like 3 of these calculators and then take the average from those 3 calculators and go from there, because I mean all of them are going to have like a different algorithm or way that they calculate it, so I highly doubt they're going to be the exact same. So it's best to use those 3 and then find the average, go from there. That's going to be your maintenance calories. So if you were to eat at maintenance calories, that just means that you're going to maintain the body mass that you have right now, including your muscle mass and your fat mass, bone, whatever, just like your mass in general. If you go below that, then you go into what's called just a cut, and then above that is going into a surplus. Now there's obviously different levels to this, right? So if you're going to say like just 100 calories, 200 calories over, then you're going to be going into more of a lean bulk. I would never ever recommend going over 500 calories in either direction. And that's why it's so important to track your bulk as well as your cut. Because what I see all the time is as soon as you go into a bulk, you don't need to track anything. You don't need to even focus on your nutrition. You just eat whatever you want and hopefully you gain some weight. But that is the complete wrong way to do it. It's the exact same way as a cut. Everyone who goes into a cut, they always track what they're eating, how much cardio they're doing. I feel like that's like the one where everyone's so specific about. It's like, okay, I'm doing a cut, I do everything right because I'm gonna get shredded and this and whatever. But it should be the exact same way when you're doing a bulk, because this is just as important. You're putting on muscle mass so that the next time you cut, you're gonna look bigger and more aesthetic. So when you go into that surplus, you wanna be tracking and making sure that you're staying in that, within that range of like 200, I would say 200 to 400 calories, so you're gaining steadily, you're not gaining too much fat, and you're putting on the muscle that you want. You have your energy, you're tracking your macros because that's going to be important too. It's the exact same thing as if you were to do a cut. So when you go into your bulk, don't just throw everything out the window and just go into a dirty bulk and just think that it's going to work, because most likely you will end up just getting either really fat or your macros will be off and you can lose some muscle, put on fat. So you can actually do like pretty much like a body recomp while doing a shitty bulk, and then it's going to be really hard for you to cut. Now the big question is, should you bulk or should you cut? So if you're going to answer cutting, then you technically don't have to watch this video. You're gonna watch a cutting video that I still need to make. It's coming out soon. But if you answer bulking, then you're gonna want to continue watching so you do it properly. If you've been doing a cut forever, since you started training, you've never really put on a lot of mass, you've always been in a calorie deficit or maintenance, then you're gonna wanna just go into a bulk. Your body has been doing the exact same thing. If you wanna break those plateaus, you're gonna wanna go into a bulk. And that's another thing. If you're at a plateau, go into a bulk. It's going to help you increase your strength and increase muscle size. If you're on the other side, so say you've been bulking for a really long time, you've always been eating in a calorie surplus for the past like year, 2 years, or how long you've been training, or even if you're about to start training, you've pretty much just been steadily gaining weight, you're gonna wanna do a cut first. Cut down, and then you can go into the bulk. It's the same thing as if you've been training and you've been bulking this whole time, you've been putting on size, whatever, and then you hit this plateau where it just feels like you're staying the exact same, but you've still been eating in a surplus. Do a cut first. See what your body physique looks like. Change it up so your body isn't doing the exact same thing. It's most likely adapted to whatever it is, whatever routine thing you've done. Do a cut, do a 3-month, 4-month cut, and then once you get to a lean enough body, I'd say 10% or lower, then you can enjoy that for a little bit. Do a little bit of maintenance, enjoy the shreds, whatever, and then go into a lean bulk from there. The other thing is obviously being on like the far end of either spectrum. Like if you're obese, obviously you need to cut. That's just a given. We're not talking about that. We're gonna be talking about like the gray area. Then if you're really skinny, anorexic, and you know for a fact in your head that you have to eat, then you're gonna wanna do that. We are talking about this like in-between area where you're like, shit, like I enjoy being shredded, but I wanna gain more mass, or I'm bulky right now, but I still feel kinda lean, like should I continue this bulk? Whatever. If you've been bulking for 6 months, you need to do a cut. If you've been cutting for more than 4 months, switch it up. It doesn't matter. Unless you're in that extreme. We're talking like 10 to like 20%. If you're in that like range where you don't really know what to do, then you are going to go off of what you have already been doing. One thing I want to point out too, if you're really young or you haven't been training for a long time, so say you're gonna be going into training for the first time and you're gonna be getting these newbie gains, or even if you've been only training for a year, this is training age. Because as you get into more years of training, like for someone like myself, I've been training for I think like 7 or 8 years, it's a lot harder to put on muscle mass. Your body has adapted to this stimulus. You really have to push yourself. You have to make sure things are done right, or your body is not going to keep on growing and basically progressing. So if you're in your early years, I highly recommend taking advantage of it and going into a bulk, unless you're obviously on this like far end of the spectrum. But even if you're someone that has like already a little bit of fat on them, like you're not shredded or anything, but you're new to training, you have not been training for more than I'd say a year, then go into a lean bulk. You can even start at maintenance with maybe like 100 or 200 calories over and do a lean bulk from there. You're going to build muscle, and the thing is when you build muscle, you burn more calories. So as you build this muscle, you're probably actually going to look leaner than when you started, because the muscle actually pushes against your skin, your fat, and you're gonna get this more rounded look. If you're below, I don't even know, like if you're under 20 and you are under a year of training, go into a lean bulk. Take advantage of it. Try to put on as much muscle as possible. But like I said, you don't want a dirty bulk. You want to be in a lean bulk, just slightly above your maintenance calories. Let's say you aren't new to training and you're not super young. So you're above whatever, 20 years old, and you've been training for more than a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. If you have been gaining weight for the past whatever, because I know a lot of people when they go into training, they don't completely focus on what they're doing. And indecisiveness is going to really affect your gains, because then you're going to go through this up and down, and you could literally just be staying plateaued the entire time because your body is not doing one thing or the other. You're literally just staying across here. Maybe sometimes you go into a calorie deficit and then one day you eat a lot and you're in a surplus. The thing is, you need to cycle between the lean bulk and the cut, or even maintenance, because what you can do sometimes is go into a lean bulk and you might put on some fat. Well, it always happens. You always put on a little bit of fat. You're trying to minimize it. But when you get to that heavier weight, you can actually hover around there, sit at maintenance, and try to change your body composition. So back to what I was saying, you're going to want to choose one and stop doing this like up and down kind of thing. If you're someone that is 15% body fat or higher, so as a male, 15% body fat or higher, you're gonna wanna go into a cut first and try to get down to like 10% body fat. I feel like that's just like a nice body fat to be at. Obviously you can be a little bit lower or just like a tiny bit higher. From there, you're going to see what your physique looks like. Feel it out, like stay around there for like a week or two, and then you're gonna go into that lean bulk. But the thing is, once you get to this 10% body fat, the lean bulk is important. You want to stay at a good body fat percentage through this entire bulk. You don't want to be jumping right back up to 15% again. The whole point is to go on a steady climb and try to build as much muscle as possible, because you're giving your body that surplus of energy, calories, so that it can build muscle. The last thing you want to do is give it so much of a surplus that it now has to store the energy as fat. So you're probably wondering why you can't just eat a shit ton and then train really hard and just go nuts and hope for the best to gain as much muscle as possible. So the number one thing is obviously you're going to gain a lot of fat. So when it comes to cutting, it's going to be a lot harder. You're going to run the risk of losing muscle during your next cut. You want to stay at a good body fat percentage. And when you have too much fat on your body, you're going to decrease testosterone levels, which is completely something we don't want. We want to have those testosterone levels high so we can build muscle. As you put on more fat, your estrogen levels will increase and your testosterone will decrease. Another thing is insulin sensitivity. When you have more body fat, your insulin sensitivity takes a hit, which means that you're not going to be breaking down those sugars, the carbs, and everything really well. We want to transfer the glucose or the carbs to our muscles as energy so we can use it. We don't want the carbs to go to waste and just be stored as fat. Okay, so you've decided to get to this point where you're now going to lean bulk, whether you're already starting there right now or you're going to do the cut first and then start the lean bulk. So the next question is, what is a lean bulk? Like how many calories, how long, all this. So let's just start with what you need to do to get into this lean bulk phase. So you're going to take your maintenance calories. Like I said earlier, you're going to go on Google and find out what your maintenance calories is. From here, you're going to add about 200 to 400 calories on top of the maintenance. I'd say 500 calories is the absolute max, but I would start with 300. 300 calories is just a nice number. It's going to be different for everybody. Everyone has a different metabolism. Maybe some days you're burning more calories and others you're not. You want to keep an eye on what you're gaining weekly. So obviously 1 week to the other, it's probably not going to be the most accurate reading, but something over 3 weeks or a month, you can kind of average out how much you're gaining through those weeks. Now, if you're gaining a pound a week, I'd say that's quite a bit, because if you were to do a 6-month bulk gaining a pound a week, that's 4 pounds a month times 6, that's 24 pounds. That's quite a bit of weight, and I highly doubt you're gonna be gaining 24 pounds of muscle. So you might need to cut it back a little bit. I mean, unless you're some genetic god and you're able to put on 24 pounds of muscle, which will never happen too. Like I'd say a percentage of it is going to be muscle, and a large percentage of it is actually going to be fat, because muscle is just simply harder to build. So that's why you wanna stay at the lower end, so you can try to use that surplus to simply just feed your muscles and not store it as stored energy, which is fat. Okay, so let's say you choose 300 calories. You've created a plan for yourself and you're eating at this surplus of 300 daily. You check your weight, and each week you're gaining an average of 0.5 pounds. And this is something you find out over like 3 to 4 weeks. That would be something good. You're doing like, that's a perfect lean bulk. What happens is people don't track anything. They don't even see or acknowledge what's happening with their body, if they are getting fluffy, if they're whatever. You want to make sure that you're treating it as if you were doing a cut too, because in a cut you would be watching everything. You'd always be checking yourself to see if you're getting more shredded. Well, it's the same thing for a lean bulk. If you want to do it properly, you're going to be monitoring what your body looks like and your weight. Now obviously, as you gain more muscle mass, more fat mass, just mass in general, your maintenance calories are going to increase. So you want to keep track of that specifically, so that if you start to plateau, you're probably going to need to add a little bit more calories, because your body has caught up to the calories that you've set out. So now your body is technically at maintenance. So that can happen, it depends on the person. It can happen after a month, 2 months, 3 months. It really just depends on the quality of your training age, bunch of different factors. But keep an eye on it. If you start to plateau and you're not gaining any weight for say 2 weeks. 2 weeks, there's no change in weight. And you're averaging out these weights that you're taking, whatever, every 2 days, every 3 days. Because if you weigh yourself every single day, of course there's going to be some type of fluctuation. But that's why I say over 2 weeks, because you're going to check what the average is and then go from there. If you're not gaining any weight, you're going to need to increase your calories. And I would say about 100 to 200 calorie increase. Don't increase it any more than that, because like I said, the last thing you want to do is increase the fat that you're putting on. Now let's talk about macros in which you should actually be getting the calories from. The simplest way to put it is you're going to get the most amount of calories from your carbs. So let's say you do a cut, you've been in a 400 calorie deficit. You can literally just replace those calories plus the extra surplus, so 400 plus another 400, 800 calories. You can literally just replace that with carbs. So what we want to do is have the best performance in the gym. Carbs are the best source of energy. That's what we store. We store them in our muscles. So let's add more carbs so we can increase our strength, our energy, and performance in the gym. You don't really need to change your protein too much, but obviously as you increase your calories, you don't need as much protein, but you're probably only going to need to fluctuate it just like a little bit. You just want to have at least 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. Like if you're 10% body fat and you weigh 200 pounds, then 10% of that is going to be fat. So you would have 20 pounds of fat mass, and then the other 180 pounds would be lean body mass. You're going to be having 180 grams of protein. The rest can be coming from your carbs and fats. You actually want to keep your fats fairly low, but you do need them in your diet. It's just essential, because if you're adding a bunch of fats and reducing the carbs, you're basically taking away energy from your muscles and giving your body just pure fat, which is very easy for our body to just simply store it as fat. What we want to do is take the carbs and make our body use it. Because if we can use it, well, then it's not going to be stored as fat. But if you just give your body a bunch of fat and we have to transfer that into energy to use for our muscles, well, a lot of it is going to just be simply stored because our body can't use all of it. What you're going to do is try to get as many of the calories from carbs, and then you want to try to get your protein intake daily based on your lean mass, and then the rest you're going to have a little bit come from fats. I'd say maybe 10%, 10 to like 15% of your total macros. Couple little extra tips: when you're lean bulking, make sure you're getting enough rest. This is overlooked all the time. It is so important to sleep enough to actually repair your muscles and grow. When we sleep, we release growth hormone. So if you're not sleeping enough, then you're not going to get the repair and growth that you're looking for. So a good benchmarker is simply the 7 to 9 hours. 8 hours is obviously perfect. Get that daily and you're set. We don't have to talk any more about that. The next thing would be training. What is your training supposed to look like when you're on a lean bulk? In the gym, you're going to want to be working on hypertrophy and strength. You can add a little bit of cardio, but the thing is, if you add cardio, you have to account for it in the calories that you're having. Because if you're doing cardio and you burn 200 calories, well, if you were just in a 200 calorie surplus, now you've just brought yourself to maintenance. So just make sure you account for all these different things. And when you're in the gym, you're going to want to work on hypertrophy and strength. So hypertrophy, that range is usually between 8 to 12, but I'd say it's even a little bit more than that. It can be from like 6 all the way up to 15, depending on the person, the type of muscle fibers you have. But a good benchmarker that everyone always says is that 8 to 12. When we talk about that 8 to 12, you're pushing yourself. Like, you shouldn't be able to do more reps. When you're doing these reps, it's about muscle-mind connection. We're trying to actually work the muscles. So obviously, as you train for longer years, you're going to create better muscle-mind connections and engage muscles much more efficiently, to the point where you can get better stimulation than someone who has only been training for a while. So make sure you're working on form, do isolation movements, and when you are doing isolation movements, that you actually feel the muscle contracting and you're working it properly. The other thing is strength. Make sure you're adding your compound movements in. You're doing longer rest times, so we're talking like the 2 to 3 minute rest times, and you're under 5 repetitions. So if you're doing a bench press, you can do, say, like 4 or 5 sets on like a heavy day, and you're going to be going for under 5 reps. You can even do a 5x5, or you can work up to a top set, or a top set and then 1 back off set, but something like that where it focuses on strength, so you're keeping your repetitions really low and your rest times higher. When it comes to the hypertrophy, so the 8 to 12 rep range, your rest time is usually going to be between like 60 seconds to 2 minutes. You can kind of play around with it, see what your body works best with, but I know for myself, it's usually 90 seconds, and that's where I've seen like just the best results in general. It's also important to do failure as well. So say on the last set of, say you have 4 sets of chest flies. Don't take them all to complete failure, but you want to get pretty damn close to it, and on the last 2 sets or the last set, you're going to take it until complete failure. You want your muscles to adapt to the new stimulus. Your body has the extra surplus, so it's going to be able to repair the muscles and build and create this new adaptation so you can progress. Along with the training, I think frequency and volume is also super important. So if you're able to hit each muscle group 2 times a week, that is going to be ideal. Now you can obviously switch that up through different splits, whether you're doing an upper body, lower body, or upper, like full body, push-pull legs. Like what I do is a push-pull legs. I'm able to hit my muscle groups 2 times a week, and I feel like that's the perfect frequency for my lifestyle too. Now what I usually go by for actual weekly volume for a muscle group, it kind of depends on the muscle, but I'd usually say 20 sets total per week. So if I do my first push workout, I'll do maybe 2 exercises, 5 sets, or I'll do 3 exercises and 3 sets of each one, something like that. But usually I'll cap out at 20 sets for the entire week. So the next workout, the next push workout, I'd be doing the same thing to build up that volume. You can also completely split up the volume through like a full body or an upper lower split. Like there's not one specific split that's going to be like, this is the one that everyone needs to do. It's the absolute best one. Everyone's body's different, so you can kind of go from there and pick which one works best for you, which one makes you feel the best. Lastly, how long should you be doing a lean bulk for? I would say a minimum, I know I've said 4 months before, but I'd say like a minimum 3 months, because you can still do a 3-month bulk and then go into a cut. Like you can cycle between these things like that, but I think the better option would be to do a 4 to 6 month bulk. So give yourself some time and make sure you're tracking your calories, your training throughout that whole duration. And then when you get to the end of it, you're gonna go into a cut. So I'd say 4 to 6 months is like the ideal window, and from there you're going to want to switch into a cut. You don't want to keep bulking for the rest of your life. We want to cycle between these things. You can also go into maintenance, right? So if you do a 4-month bulk, you could do a little bit of maintenance and try to do a body recomp and then go into a cut and then go back into a lean bulk. The only thing you don't want to be doing is the same thing over and over and over, so then you plateau and your body simply just adapts to whatever it is you're doing. Anyways, I know I talked a lot here and I just tried to give you guys as much information. I hope I'm not missing anything. If you guys have any questions about whatever I said in this, then just hit the comments and I'll try to answer whatever you guys are thinking about or whatever I missed. If you guys did enjoy this, smash the thumbs up button and make sure you guys are subscribing. I'm gonna try dropping more content like this. I still want to vlog too though, but yeah, I want to give you guys informational content and vlog style. So subscribe every Monday at 10 a.m. I'll be uploading. Help me out, fam. Let's keep growing this thing. Let's get aesthetic. Let's go.
And my crew, we on the way up, way up, way up, way up.